Democrat primary voters in Florida choosing DSA member Angie Nixon as their U.S. Senate candidate. Nixon already facing scrutiny for her far left positions, including allowing and encouraging kids to attend drag shows. Listen to this.
I don't understand, there's no sexualization at a drag show. It's just people dressing up and singing and performing. I've taken my children to drag shows, and it's fun. It's entertainment.
Oh, boy. Wholesome entertainment at the drag show. Bring the kids. Unreal. Joining us now, former RNC national spokesperson Elizabeth Pipko and former Trump special advisor and the author of Time to Choose, Catalina Lauf. Welcome to you both. Catalina, I'm going to start with you. You just heard a sample of some of Nixon's ideas. So how do you think this is going to fly with Florida voters?
Oh, it's absolutely disgusting. You know, here in Florida, we don't subscribe to socialism or communism. You know, you have to remember too, Bill, we have a very large Cuban population, very anti-communism, and that all is in the realm of these new DSA candidates. They're not only after our culture, but what they're really after is our free enterprise system, but while using the culture wars. And so this stuff does not bode well here in the free state of Florida, and I'm very confident with the voters in November that we will fundamentally reject the craziness of the Angie Nixons of the world and any other radical Marxist communist DSA candidate that comes down the pipeline now or in the future.
Yeah, replace the crazy with common sense, perhaps. Elizabeth, Nixon is running against Republican Senator Ashley Moody. DNC Chair Ken Martin thinks Nixon has a legit shot. Listen.
Clearly, she showed that she could win. And that's what matters the most. At the end of the day for us, you know, as much as the Republicans are going to try to make a big deal out of this, I've always said there's more that unites us in this party than those differences. And yes, we are a big tent party. We have conservative Democrats, we have centrists, we have progressives, and we have leftists.
So he's trying to soften the blow, certainly. Do you think he believes what he's saying?
I certainly don't. I think, if anything, he's trying to soften the blow for himself, considering he cannot seem to keep power over his own party. He has not explained yet how they lost in a massive landslide in 2024. He has no idea how to explain away not only the socialist takeover of his party, but I would call it the Marxist takeover of his party. And I would say, if you know anything about politics in 2026, you know that this candidate has absolutely zero chance to be a senator in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. You know, winning a primary is not the same as winning the general. Catalina, let me ask you about Byron Donalds, who wins the Republican nomination for governor. He was noticeably one of the few Trump-backed candidates to win. What do you think this shows? Does this show you the strength of Byron Donalds' candidacy? Does it show you that the Trump factor maybe not as strong? What are your thoughts?
I think the Trump factor is incredibly strong. You know, Florida overwhelmingly loves the president. You know, even in our district, President Trump won by 30 points, which is exactly why, you know, we handily won election day. It was vote by mail where we lost. But in the broader scope of things, you know, Byron Donalds has done a great job as congressman. He's built a very big national platform as well. And President Trump endorsed him right out of the gate, which helped keep out a lot of these sort of MAGA fringe candidates out. And, you know, ultimately he was able to win with about 47% of the vote, which is, you know, incredible. And so this is why primaries matter. Definitely, you know, the people need to get involved, but also we need to make sure that we have a very strong Republican turnout in general elections as well. And so we need to make sure that, you know, the local parties, the Florida GOP, everybody is all hands on deck to ensure that Byron Donalds becomes governor. You know, David Jolly is, you know, subscribing to the left movement as much as he wants to try to run from it. And so we need to make sure that Byron Donalds becomes the next governor, and it's all hands on deck. And I'm confident that Floridians will elect Byron Donalds as governor in the future.
Now,
Trump-backed governor.
Well, and Catalina, I appreciate that perspective and all hands on deck, and it is about turnout. Now, Elizabeth, turnout is not just among Republicans. You know, in a lot of these races, you're going to have to turn out independent-minded voters. You're going to have to turn out moderate Democrats. How does the Republican Party do that? You know, Donald's pledging to bring down the costs, and that is a message, though, that the socialists are talking about. They're hitting the chords in places like Michigan and in New York. So how do you address this specifically for younger conservatives who are struggling with the cost of living?
Well, look, I think it depends where we're talking about, right? In Florida, that conversation is going to look very different than across the country, because I will tell you, Byron Donalds is going to be the next governor. And I will tell you, most people in Florida, including young people, believe in the policy direction that Donald Trump and Byron Donalds want to take us in. They do believe in those common sense policies, the culture that we have here in Florida. They want to continue that. But around the country, of course, there are independents and there are progressives that are taking over because of high prices and because people don't know where to turn. But with that, you point them to Donald Trump's very successful policies, the record-breaking investments we've had in our country, the fact that Trump accounts are going to make the future for American children, the fact that we're more energy independent than ever before, and the future does look bright under Republican leadership and certainly not under socialist leadership.
Yeah, I think just to put a bow on that, you know, people will vote their pocketbooks. They will vote for what is in their bank account. They will look at the specific costs at the grocery store and the pump. They're not necessarily going to vote against this concept of communism. So hopefully these Republicans will have a detailed plan. Elizabeth Pipko, Catalina Lauf, great to see you both.